Everyone, we're going to do an exam review. So this is your exam 1, and of course it's going to be due by end of next week, which is going to be quite a while. So the expectation of I recorded this on Friday, May 12th. It's actually not going to be due until looks like a week from Sunday, which would be the 14th. Testing my math a little bit here, so 21st. So May 21st by end of day. And this is what you need to study. So make sure you get a pen and paper and take a look at this. These are questions that you'll see in the book. These are also questions that we might have highlighted in lectures, but these questions directly come from the textbook and only the chapters that we've reviewed so far. So remember these things and you'll do pretty well. So we're going to talk about laws that protect patients or potential laws that protect the public. So what is that? There's a lot of true or false questions here, by the way. And let's go into that really quick before I go into the what you should study. There's true or false questions. There's multiple choice questions. And there's also short answer questions. So those 3 different components. You're not going to have essay style questions. It's just going to be short answer, though. That helps you there. Okay, so we talked about the first thing, laws that protect patients and the public. How about laws from the perspective of negligence? What is negligence? So there's an important question about operating within the standard of care. What is standard of care and what does that mean? There is a term, it's a Latin term in the textbook called respondeat superior. And it said, I think it means let the master answer. So make sure you know what that term is and what it means. The patient's Bill of Rights. So Bill of Rights, what is the patient Bill of Rights? So when we talk about practicing medicine, how do providers practice medicine from the perspective of, like we talked about, standard of care? But there are other terms outside of that. Are you allowed to practice within your own expertise? Or are you allowed to practice beyond that? So we've talked about, right, licenses and the education requirements that vary, of course, from state to state and then also from the federal side of things. So know about just the ability to practice medicine and what it takes to do so. Very broadly, by the way, very broadly. What are licensure laws? Licensure laws are what? What are they meant to do? How about unions? Why do people join unions? This is not something we really talked about much in the lectures, but it's important to know. Why do people join unions? And of course, that's going to be in your textbook. All right, unlicensed personnel. So on the medical side of things, make sure you look at unlicensed personnel. What is that? So the question talks a little bit about is the provider impacted by unlicensed personnel and if they make a mistake. So remember, from the perspective of licensed personnel, there are some states that allow unlicensed personnel to practice underneath the provider's license. So keep that in mind when you're thinking about the question. All right. What about federal acts to protect against elder abuse? What are some federal acts that protect against elder abuse? Know about licensing boards. What do licensing boards help with? Know about Medicare and Medicaid, those 2 coverages. I know we've talked some about insurance, but know about federal or government payers, Medicare and Medicaid. Know about the division of law and what is liable versus not liable. Liable versus not liable. What division of the law can the defendant be? Liable versus not liable. So remember that. Think about that from the perspective of criminal or civil law. What is a testimony? What is testimony? What about the Constitution? We got to talk a little bit about the Constitution. Make sure you understand the difference between the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. Know what a deposition is. What is a deposition? Know a little bit about Congress, right? Congress from the Senate side of things and also Congress from the House side of things. Know about how many members there are, questions like that. What is the statute of limitations? Explain to me the statute of limitations. There's some true or false questions, and we've already talked a little bit about that. There's some questions that are going to give you examples of something that could cause a liability case from the product line standpoint. So there are products, of course, in healthcare. Some of them can cause medical liability. Think about that when you answer those questions. Know about verbal and nonverbal communication, what kind of communication nonverbal is and what you mainly use. Know about negative consequences in regards to medical malpractice, something that we've already talked about, highlighted. What is medical malpractice? Some easy questions in relation to the short answer. It's going to ask you for examples. So I'm not going to go into that, but you should know that if you have an awareness of the chapters. Some really simple, of course, multiple choice questions. And you're going to talk about length of stay. So what is length of stay? Make sure you understand what length of stay is. And think about it from the perspective, if you stay longer in a hospital, your length of stay for a patient is going to be higher. If you stay shorter, it's going to be shorter, of course. There is there's a trick question in here. It talks about transplants. I know we talked about transplants in the last chapter, but there are some time continuums. And remember, you can use your book. It's an open book test, so when there's a couple questions that you might be confused on, be sure to take a look at it from that perspective. You know what the Uniform Anatomical Gift Act is and what that means? And there's actually a couple of questions on that. So there's only 25 total questions, so it's a short exam. So from the perspective of each chapter, there's about 5 questions apiece. It's worth a total of 100 points, but I think you're going to do just fine in it. So don't rush to take this exam. You can take it at the end of the week. You don't have to take it at the beginning once you read over, of course, the material again and watch this video. But I think you're going to do a great job. Otherwise, you don't have any other homework per se due this week besides the exam. 25 question exam. This review is going to really help you, and I think you're going to be made ready by reading the chapters and then also doing this review again. Remember, some of the questions that you've had in this course from the relation to the other lectures that we've done, just to make sure we have a broad understanding of law and ethics. If it's not in the book, then it's not going to be in the exam. So I want you to be aware these questions came directly from the book. If you have any questions for me, don't hesitate to reach out. I look forward to some great grades, and I'm very thankful for the effort that you've put in so far for this semester. Thanks so much.